All right. Welcome back to the NASCAR Nuts and Bolts podcast. I am your host this week for episode 14, Gene at Flag to Flag NASCAR. Got my co-hosts Thomas, Kaleb at Kaleb Dunstan, and Thomas. I noticed your new handles aren't up on your signature line.
Yeah, I forgot to put it up here this time.
Do you want? Can I throw them out there to the group?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I think it's Daggone, I messed it up. Man.
You don't want blank.
My account on X is gonna be TB Racing 3, so you can follow me there for the podcast. So
sounds like you got you a racing team starting up, a little racing team account right there.
I wish, man. But I couldn't think of anything else to put, so I just put that.
Yeah.
Brooks Racing 3. Brooks Racing team number 3. That's what it sounds like.
Is that a shout out to the Intimidator, man?
That's what. Yep. That's why the 3 is there for sure. For sure.
All right.
Don't get it wrong. It is not Austin Dillon. So do not get that in your mind. If you look at the profile picture on there, it's me standing next to an Earnhardt car. So that should clear it up for people who might be confused. But,
okay.
Now, Gene, I noticed this, and Thomas, I thank you for this. I don't know why I didn't think of this, but I noticed you had the number 3 at the end of your handle. So I went and added the number 9 to the end of mine. So flag to flag, I guess you're going to have to add a 5 to the end of yours.
Yeah. I guess I probably should now, man. Everybody's repping their driver. Or for Thomas, that's a legacy driver thing. But,
yeah.
Speaking of honoring drivers for episode 14, I had to kick out one of my many shirts, man. I got in honor of the 14th episode, I got a Tony Stewart Haas Racing Bass Pro Shop shirt on tonight. This is one of the last ones. There's some graphics on the back too, Kaleb, for the car you drove around about 2017. But I actually got a piece of the door of that car, man, up on the wall. Big Tony Stewart Haas fan, 62-time National Series winner, 49 Cup Series wins. Definitely a Hall of Famer, and shout out to Old Smoke. But before we get into tonight's festivities, man, we're fresh off coming back from Richmond. None of us got hotel rooms. Man, I tell you, I'm still, my sleep is messed up. I need a lot of beauty rest if you watch it on YouTube, and I didn't get any last night, man. I got home at like 4:50 a.m. But
it was brutal.
Yeah. I mean, even y'all being closer, y'all still, 2-3 o'clock in the morning getting settled in?
It was 2 o'clock when I got home. It was like at 2 o'clock when I got home.
It was a 2-hour drive for us, Gene, like 2 hours on the dot, and it's still, I think, coming back. It was worse coming back than it was going up, I think.
Oh, man. Kaleb was, I was trying to catch a nap because I had about 3 more hours after I got to Kaleb's to get back home, and Kaleb was running the high line on 295 and hitting up into the marbles.
I didn't think nobody caught that.
Listen.
Look, it woke me up. That's for sure.
A couple of times I was back there. I was like, man, we got to add some wedge to the back of the Ford Explorer back here, man. Luckily, Uncle Bill was out. He didn't notice, man. He didn't notice, but I knew what was going on. I was struggling too, man. I
did. Look, I was just sitting up there like, dag. I wonder, do they know I'm like just swerving this car, keeping my tires warm, and I didn't know I was in the marbles. I thought I was, but it was at that point like you had to try to psych myself out, and it was a point I thought I was hallucinating. The signs were looking like stuff. I was like, oh my god. I was like, how much farther do we got?
Yeah, that was the same for me. I had to open up a Dr. Pepper and turn the radio on because it was hard for me to go to sleep, man. Everything started getting a little cross-eyed, like the signs of
exactly
double, and it was like that was rough. And like everything was dark, and I was like, and my dad was sitting in the passenger seat snoring, so that didn't make it any better. But it was hard for me to stay awake. That's for sure.
Look, I was hoping to find like a McDonald's so I could just get like a Coke or something, but there was none on I-95, the route we were going. And then the time we got to Emporia, I was like, that's it. I know that I should have stopped in Emporia. I was like, yeah. There's nothing else between from there and Rocky Mount. So
So it's funny you mentioned Emporia, Virginia, the home of the Sadler brothers, Elliot and Hermie Sadler. And is that right, Kaleb? That isn't the home of the Sadler brothers, right? Yeah, I just want to make sure. I got a lot of useless information up here. But anyway, so right about then, from the track to Emporia, I noticed the swerve. I was tired. We were listening to MRN, Thomas, so I was trying to engage Kaleb. And I don't know if you noticed this, Kaleb. I was trying to engage conversation.
I did.
But by the time we got to Emporia, Virginia, I just said, man, to heck with it. I said, I'm going to go to sleep. And if I wake up in Kaleb's driveway or with St. Peter on Easter Sunday, I would have lived a good life, man. Just got through the NASCAR race with my buddies. If I'd have been going up that clouded escalator up to St. Peter and the pearly gates, man, I'd have been okay with it.
Man, you would have met Dale Earnhardt. You know, if you woke up and Dale Earnhardt was out there, that's a bad sign.
I figured you was.
Man, that sounds kind of cool.
I figured you was, and then because I said to myself, I was like, "Dang, he just stopped talking." I was like, he just stopped. I was like, "Why did he stop?"
Hey, your pit crew took a nap, boy. I mean, you were flying solo, man. No spotter, no pit crew. You were done.
Oh, I know. I figured that.
Uncle Bill was the team owner. He was asleep before we probably crested the parking lot.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was funny, man. But great time, man. As always, great track. I'm gonna go ahead. Do y'all have anything for the intro, real quick?
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question to you guys. Since today is April Fool's Day, did you guys get confused any NASCAR posts this morning? Because I know when I woke up, I went on Instagram.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I know which one you're talking about.
It said Chase Elliott to Joe Gibbs Racing in 2025. I was like, whoa. It got me for a second. And then I realized that it was fake. So did you guys see anything like that today?
I saw I thought you were going to say another one. I did not see that one, but I saw the Carl Edwards coming out of retirement and driving for Trackhouse or Colic and number 60 Xfinity Chevrolet or Ford, one of the two.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
Yeah, the only one that Kaleb hit us with earlier today was that post Denny made about the restart. We'll get into that later, but yeah, I managed to escape all that. Kaleb, you got anything for the intro, man?
No, I think we pretty much hit on it of me, staying awake for 400 laps. Yeah. Coming home.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to save mine for getting into the racing rundown real quick. And this is going to be a long one, boys. So we got a lot to cover, man. And coming fresh off our first Richmond Raceway experience, the Toyota Owners 400. I'm going to kick it to Kaleb, man, to start this thing off, man. What'd you think about Richmond, man? What was going on?
That was my first time as well as y'all's first time at Richmond, so I was excited. The rain kind of put a little damper on a little bit, but it was luckily by 7:15 it was cars on the track, but it was just as I expected. I mean, it was what did I say earlier? Our Phoenix on the East Coast. That's exactly what I said. But I'm gonna be honest. There was a point in that race I was checking out. I was kind of checked out. But all in all, I think I give it 50-50. It was a decent race. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It could have been better. We all know it could have been better. But I guess for my first time at Richmond, I mean, it was with this package in the car and the tire. I mean, it was what I expected, but it was a good experience to be at Richmond. So I'll say that for the most part.
Yeah. Thomas, what do you got, man? What are your initial thoughts?
I have to agree with Kaleb on pretty much everything he said. I mean, my first time at Richmond, I mean, I enjoyed the track. I enjoyed the experience. I thought it was cool, but I have to agree, it was pretty much what I expected. It was just going to be a race that may or may not be considered boring by some people, but it was okay. I mean, I enjoyed it. I would definitely go back. I mean, getting in and out, parking and leaving was good. I thought that was easy. And overall, the experience was good, and I would definitely go back. but it was exactly what I was expecting as far as the racing is concerned.
Now I'm going to pose a question to you. Do you go back on August 11th for the fall race, even though they don't change anything?
Probably not. I would probably best use my money and my time to a different race where you could see better racing. Right now, the number one race on my schedule is the Bristol night race. That is the race I want to go to. If I can only go to one race this fall, that's what I'm going to.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Thomas on that one. Just that it was super cool to be there, man, and tick that track off of our list. But I just remember, and I think we've all talked about this, privately, but like the glory years of Richmond, the night race that was the cutoff in the regular season before the chase started, and that was the Richmond I choose to remember, man, because it was some really good quote unquote short track racing, lot of side by side racing, a lot of passing, and it's just not what we have in the next gen era with these shorter tracks. And you mentioned it, having the Phoenix of the South. I mean, I'm telling you, man, it did. There was points of that race that was exciting as heck. I do think the starting on the rain tire really,
that's the best part.
Yeah, that was the best part of the whole race, man. It was a lot of unknown. It put me back in Bristol a couple of weeks ago where drivers and teams were having to figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the race really shone, in my opinion. And I mean, then NASCAR kind of had that competition caution mandated. They go back to race the slicks, and then it wasn't a whole lot of passing, especially up front. If you were out front, man, it was hard. You were hard to beat, and it's just kind of what we expected. We talked about Toyota dominance. I feel like we definitely saw that. I mean, there were times where other manufacturers looked strong or out front, but I mean, let's be honest. There's a lot of Toyotas up front and running good. And then once Martin Truex got up front, my goodness, he looked like he was in another playing field to me. I don't know. I mean, it was kind of one of those things where that third stage, once he checked out, that's probably about the point, Kaleb, you checked out, if I had to guess, because I was there with you, man. I was like, oh Lord, this is.
Yeah, I think it was around right after the first stage, kind of like when he like you said, when he took that lead and he kind of just ran with it, and I was like, all right, we know how this is going to go, and I was in and out. I mean, I was keeping up with Chase, but it was like, all right, we see how this is going to go, and then they threw the unnecessary caution for Kyle Busch, and then I guess that messed up some strategy, and I heard that messed up some strategies, and the competition caution also messed up a lot of team strategies as well.
Yeah. Definitely. I don't know. I guess there was a lot of talk on Monday about the inconsistency of throwing cautions. I haven't listened to a lot of podcasts being on the road much of this morning. I did listen to the teardown on the way back. Thank God, Jordan Bianchi and Jeff Gluck put that out there hot off the press, so to speak, because that got me home down I-40 and I-85, man. But anyway, yeah, I think that we'd like to see more consistency with that. And I mean, I think Kyle Busch brushed the wall right in front of us, boys, and I don't even remember seeing it. I mean, it's not like I didn't even take notice of it, to be honest with you. I was looking in turn 4, to be honest, once I saw the caution.
Well, they threw something like that for Haley Deegan a couple weeks ago at it was at Phoenix, wasn't it? The same kind of type call. She got up in the marbles and then just brushed the wall, and they threw a caution.
Well, and I could see it with her because, like, when she gets squirrely, you don't know what's gonna happen. But like Kyle Busch, I mean, he can control his car. I would give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Did I say something funny? I don't know. I wasn't trying to, but I guess that just popped out. Anyway, yeah, and then like, I don't know. We got a lot to get into to unpack on this race. Let's start off by going we kind of covered the change from the rain tire. There was a lot of talk like NASCAR wanted to try something, right? So they were bent and determined to start this race. Now I think it worked. Kudos to them because they, like you said, they got cars on the track on time. You know, there wasn't a whole lot of people in the stands. It was probably about half full, but we were all there ready to see a race. Everybody at home on Easter Sunday. So I kind of like trying that one out. I just kind of don't know if they should have stayed on the – I don't know because if the track was dry, I don't know if they should have – for me, it would have been staying on the rain tire just for the tire wear, which is – we keep preaching every week. We just want the tire to wear more. But anyway, you know, I thought that was good. I thought the racing started out really good, but then it just went into that single file mode. And anything y'all want to kind of cover that happened during the race before we get to the spin, the Bubba versus Kyle spin, and then the final restart? Is there anything like I noticed Josh Berry was running really good there for a while.
Joey Logano ran really good towards the end. I mean, I looked over at Kaleb several times towards the last few laps of the race before the caution, and I was, you know, Joey Logano was catching him. I'm like, man, you know, he could win this race. I mean, he might be the one to save us from a Truex win. But different circumstances happen. But
I mean, I thank Denny for that.
You know, well.
Yeah, and I might have been the only one in our group kind of cheering for Truex in a sense. Now, I don't like to see the boring Truex domination. That's the thing with him. Once he decides to win a race, I mean, he wins a race. He dominates the thing. But
I told you,
I've never seen him.
I told you in the car when I was half asleep, you know, that this one's up there with well, if he won that race, this one would have been up there with 2016 Coke 600.
That was terrible though. He led almost every lap to that one though. And I
think every lap besides like 3 or
I think Truex led like 220 some laps.
Yeah,
yesterday
97 tonight. I meant last night. Yeah,
297. Oh, I thought
I think it was like 297. Yeah.
Wow. I was with Thomas. I heard something on the broadcast about 228 or something like that.
I thought it was in the 220s, but either way,
y'all might be right. Y'all might be right. I think so. I'll fact check that.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, he led a boatload of laps. Is the point. And Joey was catching him toward the end. Now, I don't know that he would have got him. But it was fun to watch that ending unfold a little bit. And then I'll tell you, I gotta cover this real quick because I was going to put it in the intro, but I have been watching for a couple years now this Kyle Larson and Bubba Wallace thing, right? And I've tried to dismiss it in my mind a lot because, I mean, I just don't think it's as relevant as people want to make it. Yeah, there was the thing in Vegas with the right rear hook into the wall. There was obviously Kyle races aggressively at times, and there's that thing where a lot of them do actually, but you know, they've gotten together and they're always seeming to be more and more around each other. But like I watched Bubba and Kyle like in 4th or 5th for about 20 laps, man. And I mean, they were racing like I always watch them when they race. They're racing each other hard but respectfully. And when he spun him, like, because I was at the race live, I didn't see or get even the replays are tough when you're at the track to look at. But my mind immediately went back to, is this something from the Clash when they were racing hard at the Clash, and then finally Larson spun him like on the last lap, and he just took it to the house, like he just drove off the track. But I was like, my mind went to that, and I immediately got mad because I was like, I thought he did it intentionally, man. I was like so mad at the track. I lost my mind, fellas. And having the opportunity to go back and see like Bubba go up just straight up to Kyle during the interview and apologize, say, hey, I didn't mean to do it, man. And then watch a couple of angles of the replay. Kyle gets loose. They're racing really tight on each other. And Kyle got loose on the front stretch. Bubba didn't anticipate it. Contact happens. It is what it is. That's just racing deals, man. So, you know, I got to calm down. Apologies to Bubba Wallace and the 23 team. If you saw me verbally, emotionally, figuratively mad at the track, but it was just a racing deal. I don't think there's anything to them. I mean, they come up together in the same era. I think what I'm thinking, or maybe what the media sometimes wants to portray, is not really there. I don't think they have this thing where they're trying to get at each other all the time. Now they're going to race around each other, but what are y'all's thoughts on that? Am I right to think that this is not really a thing, or do y'all think it is something? Y'all let me know.
No, I don't. At least, I mean, now if you would have said something after like Vegas or whatever when that incident happened, then obviously, yeah. But I think they got over the clash. Like you say, these guys they grew up racing each other, so I definitely think the mutual respect is there between the two. And then you were hitting on earlier in the season episodes, about how Larson came to Bubba's defense at Wilkesboro when he got booed really bad. So I don't think there's nothing brewing. Like you say, it's just a racing deal. And I mean, what they've been saying, Larson got loose under him, and I guess Bubba seen that, and and whatnot. So if Bubba ain't mad at it, I don't see why anybody, cough cough, flag to flag, need to be mad at it for at the track. I thought he was going.
Yeah.
Thought he was gonna throw a beer can down there in a moment.
Well, I was hot, and it reminded me too when we're at the track, not to just to understand that, like, I'm not seeing the replay or hear. Kyle's radio traffic is very calm. Like, even in moments where he either crashes, gets crashes somebody, or has any type of incident, like, he just doesn't normally really say a whole lot. Cliff Daniels will come on the radio and immediately start in, like, damage control mode. What we got to do to get back right. So not much was said.
Well, after he spun, he lost all those spots, and then he gained 7 more on pit road. So I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, and I guess in Larson's eyes, and he still come away with the top 5. So I mean, I don't think he'd be too pressed about it, even if Bubba was upset about it, or if the media or whoever was upset about it.
Yeah, he was totally chill about it, and maybe that's another thing, like, where I'm just different than Kyle. Kyle is very laid back. He's like Northern California laid back, man. He just goes with the flow a lot. Now he's got a killer instinct on the track, but yeah, he's not. Now I will say this, and moving into this part, I've been listening to Kyle Larson for years on the radio when I go to the track. I ain't never heard him as mad as I heard him on that last lap of that race when he was getting body slammed by Martin Truex. And, like, I don't know why Martin was particularly mad at Kyle, other than that's how Kyle and about 10 other of these drivers who win consistently do on the last lap. They go for position and the win. All bets are off. They're not going to, like, blatantly wreck you, but they are going to race you hard. And, like, that's all I saw, really. I'm not even sure if I even saw that with Kyle particular on Martin, but Martin just went and body slammed the heck out of him, and continued it as soon as they crossed the checker. And I never heard Kyle Larson that mad, man, like cursing mad on the radio. Like, seriously. Now Cliff calmed him down real quick, and it was over. But what's your thoughts on MTJ, man? He was obviously frustrated at the end of that race on multiple levels. But what do you think?
I think I'm going to tip this one over to Thomas right quick, and then we'll hop back to me.
I mean, when you lead all those laps and then, like, it gets taken from you at the very end, I mean, it's very frustrating. I mean, like, once the race ended, I was excited. I was waiting to hear his comments on the end of the situation. But he seemed, I mean, in the post-race interview, he seemed pretty calm, and he didn't seem too, like, overly upset or mad about it. But you can tell he was mad inside. He was mad about it, but he didn't let it show too much. I think he handled it professionally, handled it well. But I mean, it's just one of those, races that you would expect Truex to win, and he should have won. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, you guys know my take on old MTJ, so I mean,
go ahead and tell the listeners.
I'm not the biggest MTJ fan, and I think that Coke 600 kind of ruined that for me and whatnot. But I mean, I just think, don't complain about it. I understand he's frustrated. He's showing passion. That's what we want. That's what we want a driver to do. But it was a situation where Denny saw an opportunity. He took it. He raced his teammate hard, and he raced him for the win. And if Truex was in that situation, would Truex probably do it? No.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
Why not?
I don't think
we got a little.
Why would you name a time when Truex has roughed somebody up for a win?
Okay. First of all,
No.
hold on. It's getting to the point now where he's getting frustrated because he wants a win. So I could definitely see him bumping into Hamlin or getting into Hamlin a little bit if the roles reverse to get the win at the last second. I could see that happening for sure.
I wouldn't see it. I feel like if he was in that situation, if he was down there on the bottom, Hamlin still races him on the top, and then Joey takes it 3 wide, and Joey gets the win. That's the way I see it. Or I see Joey moving Truex out the way, and
Oh,
we're
yeah.
having an incident like we're having at not really an incident, but we're racing at Martinsville in 2018. But I feel like Truex just and he even said it on Denny texted him, and Truex basically just texted Denny back and was like, I lost my mind. That was all. And that's all he paraphrased it and said. But yeah, I don't think Truex would have roughed nobody up. I don't. I think Truex just he and Dale Jr.'s even said it. He's too nice on the track. And everybody give him credit. He is one of the cleanest drivers in the garage for sure. But at what point does Truex get to the inside of Denny and he's just not suck him around, but where do you try to take the air off of Denny to get that one? Where do you try to be aggressive to where you're on his door or you're on his corner or you dive behind him and you put the bumper to him so you can try to get the win? But I don't know. Like you say, he just let frustration get the best of him and he took it out on Larson and that was that.
I think so. So what you're saying is that we both can agree that if Joey was on Truex's bumper, Joey would have put Truex up into the wall to win.
Oh, true. Joey, he would have put Denny, Truex, Larson. He would have put any of them if he had the chance. But if for sure, if Joey got to Truex minus the caution, he would have put the bumper to him, no doubt. If he did not put the bumper to him, he would have dove into the turn and try to use him up just like Denny did. Because it just seemed like Logano's car was so strong diving into turn 1, and he could just roll that corner and roll the center off. So that's what I think.
Yeah, and a couple things I'll say. So Kyle Larson, if Kyle Larson rolled out second behind Truex, Kyle Larson would have probably made contact to win that race at some point going into the turns. Joey definitely would have. Denny would have. And to your point, Kaleb, I do think now I see where Thomas is going. Like he thinks like maybe he's getting tired of it and may get to that point now, especially in his twilight. But you're right. I can't think of a single time where Truex roughed anybody up. And like, if that's how you race after 34 Cup wins, you don't obviously want to get to 40, right? Because Denny's got 53. He's made it patently clear he wants to get to 60 wins in the Cup Series. So that's the way you're gonna get Denny racing. Kyle Larson found that out last year on a couple closing lap races where he lost a win going with Denny and knowing Denny, Denny's going to make contact. Now he knows, right? So I think my whole thing with Truex is like, if that's who you are and that's what you've showed your entire career, don't get mad when you're not willing to do it, but somebody else is. Like, that's the bottom line here. Like, and it makes you kind of look like a crybaby when you won't do it, but you get mad at everybody else because they don't play by your rules. Like, that's the problem I have with it. And I still respect the heck out of Truex. I wanted him to win because I've never seen Martin Truex win in person. And I wanted to tick that off as well. Now, I've seen Denny Hamlin win 4 times now. And really in the last couple of years that all 4 of them came. One cool thing I thought, the car that most looked like an Easter egg won on Sunday, on Easter Sunday. That Mavis Tires and Brakes looks like a painted Easter egg that's hiding in the grass somewhere, man. It's got the pastel green with the yellow, and man, it looks like a dyed Easter egg. But anyway, I'll say that's my take on MTJ. Either get tough and put the bumper to people in the closing laps, or get used up and really can't say anything about it, man.
So I gotta ask, you said you wanted to check MTJ off your list of wins to see, would you rather seen him or would you rather seen Logano win that race last night?
Oh, well, see, Logano's also on my list of people I haven't got to see win. The real big 3 that I'm wanting to see before they retire, I haven't seen Martin Truex, I haven't seen Joey Logano, and I haven't seen Kyle Busch. Any 3 of those, but I'll be honest, if you give me a pecking order, I want to see Kyle Busch win. Actually, I want to see Joey Logano win first. So there you go. There's your answer. Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, and then Martin Truex. If you maybe do a rank order on those, but actually, I'd like to see them all. But yeah, Denny's, that pit crew, man. Good gracious, they're busting out consistent 9-second stops. Some have been in the 8.8 range this year. I went back and looked at the last pit stop, and I think both Joey and MTJ registered at about a 10.3, and Denny busted out a sub-9 in that 11 team. So kudos to him for getting out on pit road, with the lead. But yeah, I'd rather obviously seen Kyle, but Kyle was showing me he didn't really have he got a bad set of tires that last run anyway, and wasn't going to do nothing with Truex. And then it became Truex versus, Logano, maybe versus Hamlin battle. But yeah, Logano was coming, man. I'll agree with all of y'all on that one. And really, again, I want to save the restart issue for the next segment, but let's go ahead and put it on the race meter. Let's go ahead and figure this thing out. I like starting with Thomas now on these race meters because he sets a really low bar sometimes that I like to play off of. But anyway, go ahead, Thomas. What you got?
Yeah, this race definitely ranks pretty low for me. I mean, but there's always going to be like an added like bonus. Like if it's a race that I went to, there's going to be a little bit of a bonus to it simply because I enjoyed it more because I was there. If I'd have been sitting on my couch watching this mess, it would be a much lower rating. But I'm going to go and give this a generous 6.5. I feel like that's fair with a little bit of bonus added to it just because I was there. But I can promise you if I watched it at home, it would be lower. But I think the ending added a little bit more to it. If Truex would have just finished out the race like we were all expecting and won, it probably would have been a little lower. But the ending also adds a little bit of bonus to it. So I think 6.5 is a fair rating for this race.
Yeah. Kaleb, what you got?
I'm going to go with a 7. Simply because, like Thomas said, the ending and first time at Richmond. So it was an exciting ending and then the caution and whatnot. And I'm playing off of my driver's top 5 this weekend. So I'll take that and I'll go with a 7.
Cool.
Yeah. Great points, Thomas, for like what goes into the rating that could up it or lower it. I'm 100% agreement with you on that. Like a couple weeks ago, the Las Vegas race, I gave it a 10. Let's be honest. We all know why I gave it a 10. But to your point, like if Kyle Larson would have won that race, I'd have probably gave it. That's good for an extra point, I would imagine. I thought mine would go up a little bit, looking at the factors and stuff. I was a 6.5 last night. I'm gonna go ahead and keep it there. I like that Kaleb upped his a half point, but yeah, I mean, like it probably would have been lower if we were sitting on our couch. It probably would have been a 5, to be honest.
4, but 4.5.
Yeah, exactly.
But being there, man, the facility was great. It's an old short track in the South, or well, it's in Virginia, but it's northernmost part of the South, I guess. But I enjoyed the facility. I for the most part, under the next gen, enjoyed the race for what it was. I would go back. I don't think I would be going back this year. Like Thomas said, you got to be very strategic with your race selections. I'm trying to get the 10 Cup races this year, and ticking it off once is good enough for me. And but I definitely would go back. So that's a pretty good solid 6.5, 7 for NASCAR Nuts and Bolts team. All right, well, let me do this. Let me kick it over to you, Thomas, because we're not really done yet with Richmond. We've got a lot. This is a Richmond-esque episode, if you will. So let's go ahead and get to trackside chatter for Thomas.
All right, guys. So for the trackside chatter tonight, we're going to be discussing, did Denny Hamlin jump the restart? And if he did, should there have been a penalty? And also, is cars laying back? Is that a problem? Is there any changes that NASCAR should make based off those two things? And I'll just go ahead and say what I think. I think I mean, I watched the replay several times today of the restart, and I mean, I guess he jumped the restart. I mean, I'll just go ahead and say he did. I mean, but to me, wasn't that much of a problem, and I don't think there should have been a penalty. It wasn't too bad, in my opinion. Now for the next one about cars laying back, I really don't think that was much of a problem yesterday. I mean, I've seen several races in the past, just last season, for example, that there was several instances in which that was a problem. But I don't. I think it's a little bit of an overreacting thing because I can tell you right now, if Chase Elliott would have did exactly what Denny Hamlin did, or if Kyle Larson did exactly what Denny Hamlin did, it wouldn't have been a problem. I mean, I'm not hating on Chase Elliott or Larson at all. I'm just saying it's just a Denny Hamlin thing. They're going to try to pick apart everything he does and try to find something to say, well, he shouldn't have won that race, or NASCAR should call it back, or whatever. So,
Thomas, real quick, are you talking about the fans or NASCAR?
oh yes, I'm talking about the fans. People saying that he should have that he jumped it. It was terrible, and he should they should take the race from him and everything.
Yeah.
Which I don't think it was as bad as people are making it out to be. I mean, yes, I would say yes, he did jump the restart, but I mean, he wants to win, and I don't fault Denny Hamlin for anything that happened yesterday. I think he was completely justified of everything he did, and quite frankly, I think it was a little bit of an overreaction to say it was as bad as it was, or if they think it was as bad as.
Well said. Kaleb, what you got?
Yeah. So I was kind of biased. I did not think Denny jumped the restart beforehand. I even well, I'll get into this in a minute. But no, because at first he was saying, well, my nose was in the box, so and I went, and then later on he's like, well, I'm gonna concede, and I was like, well, I guess he did it. So, but like Thomas said, definitely overreacting. If it was anybody else, they wouldn't even care. If it was a chase, the fans would probably riot if NASCAR went and reversed it and said, hey, you jumped the restart. They would probably boycott NASCAR at that point. But no, but I just don't see. I mean, I see the point, but at the end of the day, Denny was the control car, and was he? Yeah, he was leading.
Yeah.
He was the control. Yeah, he was the control car, and I mean, he might have went a tad bit early, but nothing too crazy to go. But like you say, Thomas, if they take it away and they give it to Logano, I mean, fans are going to be still upset about that. It may be 10 times.
You're right.
10 times worse. So, I mean, you can't, as we always say, can't make NASCAR fans happy all the time. So it is what it is. But I do want to add this. NASCAR on Fox missed the restart.
Of course they did.
Yeah, because I was looking for the restart, and then Brett Griffin put out that tweet and was like, hey, here's the restart, but it's just showing the cars coming to the restart zone and not the leaders taking the restart zone. So we didn't see that. And then the only other angles I've seen, I think Fox NASCAR did put out another tweet where it's like somebody was showing the camera from the top and showed the restart. I guess Twitter bullied them into posting it, and then it was the onboard of MTJ. So that's kind of what I saw. But overall, it's definitely overreaction, and I mean, who cares? To be honest,
it's starting to seem like every week there's something to complain about Fox and the broadcast. I mean, I hate to be negative and bring negativity to the podcast, but it seems like every week there's something to complain about, something that needs to be fixed, and it's not just us noticing it. There's other people that have a bigger following than we do who are mentioning these things, and yet they're not being fixed. So,
yeah. I mean, I don't think it's bringing negativity when it's the truth.
That's fair. Yeah.
I think we're not doing our listeners justice if we don't address that. It is something every week, boys. If it's not a stupid crank it up pit stop, it's really. And I'm gonna get off that because I could talk about that every week when they do that. But it's the camera angles. Not having the camera angles is no excuse. You've been in the game since 2001, and Kaleb's talking about live broadcast. You've got several cameras across the track. You are fixated on the one in turns 3 and 4 that's just showing cars go by. When the leader is taking the restart, I mean,
this was coming to the this was coming to the green flag.
The green-white checker, the first one we've had in a long time, and you've got fixated on this camera, and I'm getting to watch Noah Gregson come by. I mean, that's ridiculous, man. That's terrible. Like, and they did show it after, because obviously at the end of the race they had to go back, post race and look at it. They have a perfect camera of Denny's, and it's got Boyer and Harvick, kind of dissecting that thing. We deserve to see that live for ourselves as NASCAR fans. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous, man. But we literally can do this every week, and I'm getting to the point now where I think we should, just because it's ridiculous. Fox Sports, that's ridiculous.
That's one of the good things about being able to go to the racetrack, that you can look wherever you want to, and you can focus on, and you can see whatever you want to. And I think that's obviously that's one of the best things about going to a race.
I think someone had said they were like, if NBC was on, they would have had the throttle up with Denny and Truex, seeing when Denny got into the gas, when Denny get in the gas and everything. It was like would have had graphics up and showing speed and all that, but they were like, no, Fox was fixated on that camera coming out of turn 4 right before the restart zone. So
yeah, I don't know if it's like this comedic irony that they put it in just a spot that's almost close enough to be relevant, but isn't. It's like not. Right there in the middle of the turn, and got cars going by when Denny's taking the green flag. So I'll tell you, man, I think y'all nailed it, Thomas. You started off really good. I mean, I don't have a whole lot. I 100% agree with you. If you're asking for a black and white answer, did Denny jump the restart? Well, yeah, he rolled it early. So then if that means jumping the restart, then that's what happened, right? But here's the thing. Y'all both hit on it. That he's got some money in the bank with a win. He is a veteran driver, probably one of the most savviest veteran drivers we have in the sport right now, if not the most. I mean, if you didn't know how savvy of a driver Denny Hamlin is, go back and look at that Bristol race when it was a tire management game. And guess who won that race? Denny Hamlin. Like, he's got all these like slide tricks because he's been in the game, man. He's the OG vet of the sport right now that is trying to get to 60 wins, will do whatever. Probably one of the best at gamesmanship and things like that. So, like, yeah, I mean, that's just what he's going to do. I think he's earned the right to do stuff like that. And every once in a while, it not be an issue. Now, Thomas, you mentioned, I didn't see a whole bunch of laying back, even though Denny said there was some. And there probably was a little, but like we can all remember.
Lane. It was on the top lane.
Lane. It probably was a little, right? Yeah. I mean, because he describes like, before he's ready to hit the go button, so to speak, he sees like cars in the mirror getting bigger, which means that they're laying back to get their runs and take away that advantage. I 100% understand why he would try to eliminate that advantage, because his pit crew earned it for him. But I'll also say that, like, we're all thinking about this database of races where it's been worse. Like, there have been in other races, not last night, cars laying back really bad. NASCAR should address that, in my opinion, on some level, because it does create a no-win situation for the control car. If they're laying back on you and then you get to dictate the race, all they're doing is trying to get faster to the start-finish line when, to make a run on you quickly. And I think, there has to be some addressing of that. If you're going to address Denny Hamlin and what he did, you got to address people laying back too. It's like this not fair thing just to go after Denny Hamlin on this one race. Other drivers have done it, so I'm good with it personally. I think he's definitely probably a little unnoticed with it. Like, he couldn't probably do that again next week. But I understand why he did. I think it's kind of a little bit of a multi-tier issue. If you're going to go after when to actually restart and police that really hard, then you've got to police this laying back stuff too. And that's just kind of my take on it. But yeah, definitely. It just depends on who it was.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I don't think Chase Elliott fans would have had a problem if the 9 car was the control car and did the same thing, right? I mean,
Nope,
same
not
thing.
at
I'm a
all.
5 fan. I wouldn't have had any problem with it. And I don't think really. I think it's a non-issue at this point, but it's up to NASCAR how they want to address that in the drivers' meeting moving forward. But you can't have address one without the other, in my opinion.
Yeah.
One more thing I wanted to add was yesterday Denny Hamlin won, and there wasn't too many boos.
No.
I like to see people cheering for Denny, and I guess that's because Chesterfield, Virginia is pretty close to the Speedway.
Yeah,
So I mean that's probably why he didn't get as many boos as he would say at Charlotte or wherever. But
yeah,
I just wanted to say that I was pleased to see Denny being cheered and people giving him the respect that I feel he deserves.
Well, we saw it at the Toyota trailer. It was slam packed when we got up there,
Yeah,
man. So
yeah, that's
Toyota
right.
track, and Toyota showed up. Well, Toyota showed up, and Denny won it. So people got
yeah,
their money's worth,
yeah. And
especially Denny fans.
listeners, what Caleb's referring to is like we have a ritual of walking around outside the track before a race, and we always hit the merch hauler row. And man, it's the first time I can ever remember like the majority of fans were at the Joe Gibbs and the Toyota and the 2311 haulers.
More than Chase and Hendrick.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. It was definitely there's a lot of Toyota love in the Richmond Raceway area, and maybe it is the Denny effect in Chesterfield. But I'm glad you mentioned that, Thomas. I had that in my notes to cover eventually, but I just missed them. But you were 100% right. Like there was not a lot of booing. Um, nothing for any other driver that wouldn't just be normal booing. Um, and I thought that was kind of cool too. I think people are coming around and understanding that whether you like them or don't. I mean, we're witnessing one of the great drivers in NASCAR history finish up his career, and I think it's pretty cool. Now, I've seen Denny win 4 times now, and I've seen drivers like other drivers like Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Casey Kane, Kyle Larson. They've all won 3, so I'm pretty stocked up on my Denny wins. I don't need to see too many more, but if I do, so be it, because he's actually one heck of a driver, man. So
Yeah. Speaking of, you mentioned Casey Kane. I would have to say didn't you say you saw the 2008 Coke 600? Yeah,
sure did.
that's probably one of the races I'm most jealous about. That one, me being a Casey Kane fan, that one was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, and listen, man, it's with the database, overloaded, man. I can tell you that the one thing I remember about that race is he dominated. like he showed up to the track, and he didn't lead every lap, but I tell you, like he was fast all weekend. And there was a little stretch there in the late 2010s where he
Mhm.
he was really fast, especially at Charlotte.
Yep.
All right.
Well, guys, we're going to dive into our Speedway spectacle here. And we're headed back to Virginia. And instead of Richmond, we're headed to Martinsville, Virginia this weekend, to Martinsville Speedway. And this weekend, it is Hendrick Motorsports' 40th anniversary. Rick Hendrick will be leading the field in the pace car, and Jeff Gordon will be giving the command. So, let's dive into our Martinsville preview and the Hendrick 40th anniversary. So, what are our thoughts on Martinsville? What are we expecting, and what are we looking forward to?
Yeah. So I'll lead off and say that it became very apparent as we started to map out our tracks visited schedule this year for the NASCAR Nuts and Bolts team that this might be the biggest race we go to for us, because we are all huge Hendrick Motorsports fans. This is the 40th anniversary. Martinsville means so much to this team and this organization for obvious reasons. I'll just say that I think this is going to be one of the most exciting races for us just to be at the track this year. And can't wait to see those ruby red schemes. Very encouraged by the race we saw last fall. We were all there for the fall Martinsville playoff race and saw a really good show between Blaney and Denny. and a lot of other drivers too. But I'm really excited, man. I don't have a whole lot of like analysis to bring to it other than I'm just super excited to be going back-to-back weeks, going to eat a lot of hot dogs, and can't wait to be there, man, with y'all.
Make sure you pack your Toms.
Oh,
Yeah.
For old men like me, man, there's a ritual. If I'm gonna tax my innards with Martinsville hot dogs, I got to prep for it. There's a pre and a post game prep for this stuff, man. So yes, Tums will be in the bag.
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah,
Thomas, what you got?
Martinsville Speedway is very important to me. I know Gene mentioned that it's important to Hendrick Motorsports, but also very important to me. That was the first track I ever went to, and it means a lot to me. And I don't anticipate, missing many Martinsville races from here on out. I'm going to try to go to as many as I can, as long as I'm able and can do it. I'm wanting to go to it. And just something about this weekend in Martinsville with the 40th anniversary cars, just something about it. It's giving me a weird feeling. I feel like something big is going to happen this weekend, and I'm looking forward to it, man. This feels like it's one of the most important Martinsville races I've been to, and I've been to several, but this one just feels different than the rest of them.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Speaking of Martinsville being important, I mean, as a Gordon fan, it brought a lot of importance to me. So a lot of wins, 9 wins to be exact, and Gordon getting his last win there. So definitely a big fan of Martinsville in that aspect. And you mentioned seeing something that we wouldn't expect or seeing something big. I would, in my heart, I would love to see Jeff Gordon run a Martinsville race one time, just come out of retirement like Junior. So Jeffrey Michael Gordon, if you are listening to this podcast, Jeff Gordon at vice chairman up there at Papa Joe Hendrick Boulevard at Hendrick Motorsports, I'm calling you out to race a Martinsville race, whether it's truck or Xfinity, because I know you're not doing Cup. But no, in all seriousness, it's going to be a fun weekend. I think Martinsville, the racing's slowly getting better there, and I'm excited for it. Looking to see what the unknown will be for that track and for Hendrick Motorsports as well.
Now, I got to ask you, fellas. I want to believe it too, man. That something special is going to happen. How worried are we about the Toyotas, man?
I'm more worried about Denny.
Me too.
That's the only one.
Yeah, I feel like Denny can win every race we go to this year. And I feel like it's hard for me to pick out a race where Denny wouldn't be a threat.
Yeah.
A road course.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Like, he's still a top fiver at a road course, but he's never really the favorite to win.
Exactly.
But other than that, to Thomas's point, man, he's probably the favorite to win at most tracks, man, most ovals for sure. And short tracks in Virginia, that's a scary thought, man. He's pretty tough, man. I'm worried about the 11 going back to back this weekend.
I feel like we see 3 more Denny wins of the races we attend this year.
Wow.
There's always Coke 600. That's going to be a possible Denny showdown. I mean, you look at this past Coke 600 we went to, Blaney won it, but before the Chase and Denny incident, Denny was fast and Denny had a good shot at winning that race. So,
right,
yeah.
And plus, he's already won a Coke 600. So,
I was at that one.
Yeah, I'll be depending on how it goes in Indy later or earlier that day. I would really be pulling for Kyle, but
of course,
yeah, I think Denny's going to be fast in Charlotte for sure. But yeah. So other than Denny, are we worried about the Fords? Are we worried about anything spoiling Hendrick's day?
I mean, at this point, just throw Josh Berry in the mix. He's been running decent. Well, not overly decent these past few races. So I wouldn't count him out.
Yeah, for sure, man. And kudos to the Stewart-Haas team for, like, you got him and Gregson and Priest and Briscoe. I haven't really seen up doing much, but I mean they're probably around where they're supposed to be for those cars. But in particular, Gregson and Barry have really shown up last couple weeks, man.
For sure. So let's go. Let's head into our picks here. So I'm gonna start off with Thomas. Who you got on the poll and who you got winning?
Well, so are we just doing polls first, or are we gonna do both of them?
Either or, whichever you throw out. Following your lead on that one.
I'm just gonna start with the poll because it's gonna be interesting once I get to my race winner. So I might have to go last on that one. But for the poll, I'm gonna have to go Chase Elliott in the number 9 Chevrolet to be on the poll.
Okay.
For this race this weekend.
Wow. My next. You want me to go next?
Oh yeah. You go. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll do for my poll. I'll do Denny Hamlin riding the wave. It secures the pole for Martinsville.
Gotcha. All right. So you have Chase, you have Denny, and so we have Ford, Chevy. No, we have Chevy, Toyota. So I'm gonna go with the Ford here. I'm gonna go with the 22 of Joey Logano.
That's a solid pick right there. Solid pick.
I feel like Joey, he found something last night, and I feel like he's going to take that to Martinsville and use that at that short track, and maybe probably won't have on the glove, but I think he'll be fast. I think, and looking back, he's won. Well, this was the fall Martinsville race. He's won, I think, it was like 2019, 2018, 2017. He's won the pole like 3 or 4 times at Martinsville. So it was between him or Truex. I was going to go with, but I had to go with second place over 4th place there.
Okay, fair enough. Good stats to back it up too.
Yeah. So Thomas, what you got on that one, or do you want to go last on your race winner?
I can go ahead and go. This might be a complete shock to you guys, but I was thinking that I feel like something's special is going to happen this weekend. And originally I was going to pick Chase to win it, but I got to thinking, I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I'm going, so it's most likely not going to happen. But I was looking at my Diecast cabinet earlier today, and I was thinking there's a certain driver whose car is in there and who has done pretty well on short tracks in the Xfinity Series as of the past few years. And for my race winner, I'm going to go with the Stewart-Haas number 10, Noah Gragson, to win his first career Cup race at Martinsville.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Hey, you must be still on that nighttime driving that you were doing last night. Still a little delusional from that. Now, if he wins, I mean, he's running good, so if it proves me wrong, I'll just be wrong. So
I'm trying to figure out what game he's playing, Kaleb, because I know he feels something special is going to happen with the Hendrick camp in Martinsville. Is he just too afraid? Could be. Were you doing like the reverse psychology thing like I did on Ty Gibbs last weekend, where I picked him to win Richmond because I didn't want him to win Richmond?
I don't know, man. It seems like I've had several picks where I'm right. So, I mean, it hadn't really been a time when I pick somebody and then the opposite happens. So,
boom.
I don't know.
You've gotten pole winners and you've gotten 2 race winners so far. So
yeah, I mean, you saw how good Stewart-Haas ran at Bristol and how good they ran at Richmond. So I'm thinking, something's going to go down in Martinsville. And
so why didn't you go?
And Grax is going to win.
So why didn't you go with Josh Berry over Noah Gragson?
I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. It's Gragson's time. I feel like he's going to do it.
Interesting.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. I would have never guessed that was what you were going to say. Actually, yeah. So, man, if you get your 3rd win off of Noah Gragson, I'm gonna stop picking. I'm just gonna be done. I'm gonna pick whatever you pick.
Oh.
Kaleb, why don't you go ahead and go next? Because I'm waffling over here. I got all kind of thoughts in my head.
Well, we all know mine's pretty much a no-brainer for this weekend. I'm going with the driver of the number 9 Hendrick UniFirst Chevrolet this weekend. That'll be driving that ruby red car right there. So I'll be going with the 9 of Chase Elliott this weekend, and finally seeing Chase win in person, hopefully. So I'm banking off of Hendrick. He's currently at his 40th winless streak, and if he doesn't win, it'll be 41. So, and it's the 40th anniversary. So I'm kind of riding on that on that coattail a little bit.
Yeah, and I'll follow you guys up and tell you that my heart of hearts tells me I want this to happen, so I'm gonna pick it, man. I want Hendrick to have their day in the sun on Sunday and their 40th anniversary, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick Kyle Larson is gonna win, and that's that fuzzy feeling you got in your stomach, Thomas. It won't be so fuzzy when the checker flag drops, but
Yeah, I know.
No, it's gonna be the hot dogs moving around in the stomach at that point.
not mine for sure. And Thomas, take solace in I can't pick one to save my life. So there you go.
To be honest, like if Larson wins, I wouldn't be upset because this is a big deal for Hendrick. So if any Hendrick driver wins, I'd be happy with that. To be honest, I wouldn't complain about a Larson win this time around, but this time around only.
All right. Well, there we go. And part of me, the reason I kept waffling back and forth, I almost wanted to do the reverse psychology thing one more time and pick Denny to win, but I'm gonna go with what I want to have happen versus what I think could happen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here we go. I'm looking forward to it, boys. This is kind of we're gonna hit a lot of races this year. This might be at the top of the list for us, man.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll have to wait and see. All right. Well, let's dive into our fuel for thought to start our slow descent, wrapping up our episode 14 podcast here. But I want to talk a little bit more about Richmond in the sense of, is it time for Richmond to lose their second race date? In listening to the teardown last night, if you're an Athletic subscriber, Jordan Bianchi has an article making a case for that. And there has been some chatter that NASCAR has been contemplating this for a couple of years now. I mean, y'all saw the attendance. It wasn't the greatest. Now, a lot of things working against it. The weather, Easter weekend. I thought it was a pretty good crowd, all things considered. But with the racing product, with the way NASCAR wants to expand, the way, like, it's just, I don't know, man. There's a lot of things we could do to move around the schedule. Does Richmond deserve a second Cup race? I mean, Atlanta's lost theirs and won it back. I mean, there's been times throughout recent NASCAR history. Darlington, I mean, when they went down to, I thought that was sacrilegious when they went down to a single Darlington race. But they made it to the other side of that. I mean, there's a way to get back, but what are your thoughts on that, boys? Is for an ISC track that's not really performing well for on-track action and ticket sales, what would you say there? Would you like to see a change there for a little while?
I mean, I would hate to. I mean, I'm really on the fence with this, but to be honest, I would hate to see a race or a track that is so close to me lose a second date. But I mean, if it's just going to be exactly like it was last night for the next race, I'm going to say yes. I feel like there's other places that could be added on there that would be better. And, you mentioned attendance, and, there was several factors that were playing against it. But earlier this afternoon, I was watching the back half of the 2000 Richmond race when Jeff Gordon won. And the back stretch was just loaded full of people. It was like, it was slammed full. And then you compare that to yesterday or a Richmond race last season. I mean, the popularity for Richmond, I don't think is as good as it should be. So I feel like there's other options that you could go to instead of Richmond, but I just hate taking away a track that's so close to me.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that, especially with the be another track that's like, within hours away, that's literally drivable we could go to. But I mean, I don't want it taken away because it's a historic track that's been there for years and time to come. But it's only one thing: fix the package, fix the tire. And that's it. Don't have the race on Easter Sunday. And I mean, granted, yeah, we had rain, but we saw a good amount of people yesterday at the beginning of that race, considering it was Easter Sunday. It was still, in my opinion, it was a good amount. And I mean, granted, towards the end of the race, I mean, people did not like the racing they saw. They saw follow the leader race and between Truex and Larson, and that's really all they saw. And then, I mean, we saw it. People were leaving mid race and before it was even, that caution came out. But, I mean, nobody wants to see, when you can, no one wants to see Larson track down Truex and then he gets in 3 car lengths to him and he can't pass him. Nobody wants to see that. I don't think Richmond should be taken off. You have the resources right there and you're not using them. That's what I'm not understanding. So I don't just change the racing, change the products. I want NASCAR to quit the BS with the underbody and, unleash the engines. I mean, nobody wants to go to a short track and not pass. That's the thing. So that's my take on it.
Wow. I'm kind of surprised that y'all feel so strongly about it to keep it. I mean, let me pose this to you real quick. If NASCAR came out mid-season and said, "Hey, let it kind of trickle out through their outlets that they were going to say, "Hey, we're gonna possibly add a second Homestead date in place of Richmond Raceway." Having that picture of how that would play out, what would your thoughts be? Would you be okay with it? Would you still not be okay with it?
I mean, it'll suck to see Richmond go. I mean, a racetrack that, Dale Jr. Not Dale Jr. Dale Sr.'s wiping his windshield off it, and Jeff Gordon went in there and whatnot. I hate to see the history of it go, but I mean, simply because the racing product sucks at Richmond. I mean, and it's great at Homestead, so I wouldn't be mad at it. It'll suck to see Richmond go, but I wouldn't be upset that Homestead gets at it.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of Homestead, and I still am. So if we had a choice between what we saw yesterday in a Richmond race or a good race at Homestead, I'm taking the good race at Homestead. Even though Richmond's so close to me and I can get there just within less than 3 hours, I'm taking the Homestead race.
Yeah. And the reason I asked you that way, right, because both of you are pretty consistent. Y'all are from 2 hours away, central North Carolina. It's a lot closer to y'all than it is to me, to be honest with you. But
yeah,
like that's the emotional tug for y'all. Take that out, and I wanted you to picture it as what like the general NASCAR fan would look at,
right.
And Kaleb, you keep saying losing it. I mean, there would still be one day. It might intensify the ticket sales and the pageantry of that one race there in that area to maybe they do sell it out. Maybe they do make a bigger deal. Maybe they put it on the schedule in a different spot to accentuate what Richmond is, right? But yeah,
Now,
I mean, like,
granted, I do think now you're at a short track and you're having a night race. Yeah, move it Saturday. And I
Yeah,
understand
absolutely,
I understand you're competing with March Madness and all that and the Final Four and the Elite Eight. But I mean, if you want to increase attendance and you want to have a night race, have the race on a Saturday. Have it on a Saturday night. Even if and I know they won't ever do it unless something happens. Run the Xfinity race early in the day and run the Cup race Saturday night. I mean, that's always been my thought process of it, but I understand as a traditionalist, NASCAR is held on Sundays, but that's just my thought of it. But I
yeah.
just think as long as they don't change that racing product, it's not going to do any good.
Yeah, I can go ahead and just say I'm not a fan of night races on Sundays. I think if you're going to have a night race, it needs to be on Saturday.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, if it rains just a little bit, it gets pushed back and people got to work the next morning. They can't, it's hard for people to make plans to be able to come back on Monday. I just think it's very unnecessary to have a night race on a Sunday. I mean, you had Saturday, it's perfect to do it.
well, that's how it used to be, fellas. I mean, the Chevy Rock and Roll 400s were on Saturday nights in Richmond. That to me, I think we can all agree that's a no-brainer. I mean, like for me, I wouldn't personally go to Richmond if it wasn't a night race. There's something about those lights in that track that there's a mystique about it. Then they used to do a day and a night, but the night race was where it was at. And then I'm with y'all. Saturday night, we should have been there Saturday night. It has nothing to do with the weather. It could have rained Saturday night, and I still would say that because to Thomas's point, if it rains, then you have that chance of getting it in on Sunday during the day when there's a weather break. Sunday night if you had to. That's like a fail
Mhm.
safe where if you had to run it Sunday night, you would do it then. But yeah, I'm torn too. I mean, I'm not trying to play devil's advocate just to play devil's advocate. I'm torn too on it. Like if you twist my arm, you're going to have to come with something better for me to say yes. In other words, so that's why I put that Homestead out there. That would be better racing. Homestead gets 2. Everybody be happy about that. Definitely, if we're at home watching, that would be better than watching at home at a Richmond race the way it is now, like you said, Kaleb. So, yeah. Yep. And I tell you, I don't envy NASCAR's moving tracks around and trying to figure schedules out and accommodating everybody, because that's a tough job, and especially with the options that are presenting themselves now with more tracks, the ability for NASCAR to want to go to different markets, I think is cool, and it just creates more issues for the schedule.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we definitely tackled Richmond more ways than one here on the pod and live. I want to get to my my outro and my diecast reveal this week, because as you know, listeners, we had that situation where I bid $1,185 for a diecast. Luckily, I was trying to bid $118.50. It didn't go up much past 130-ish, and with tax and everything, I got this bad boy home for around 150. And this was also one that Thomas very astutely figured out he was on his watch list, but he didn't set his reminder and forgot to bid on it. And they don't come up on eBay very often, but I have a 40-car Hendrick case for the 40th anniversary. Not that I planned it that way, but it is a 40-car case. And I had one car. I actually have a couple more I'm interested in procuring, but this is one that has been on the list for a while, and they don't come up very much. But this is the 2017 Casey Kane Indy Brickyard winner, which is his last win, and it was on eBay. Standard, race win, of course. So maybe that's why Thomas subconsciously forgot.
You want to know what's funny?
What's that?
All 3 of us was watching that diecast then.
See, we thought you weren't watching this.
Well, because Thomas sent it to me.
Oh,
and yeah,
Thomas, I see how you are, Thomas. You didn't send me this one.
I don't even remember that. I mean, I remember it being on my watch list, but I guess I sent it to you like when it was first listed or something.
Yeah, like it was 6 days out. You sent it because as soon as you dropped it, as soon as it dropped, you sent it to me, and I was like, "Well, dag, I wonder if he's gonna get it." And I was like, "Well, if it's right, I'm just gonna snipe you for it."
God.
Well,
but I have a filter on eBay that alerts me whenever somebody posts a Casey Kane diecast. So
are you serious?
I swear, I got like 5 different drivers. I got filters for. So
I love this tire damage on the passenger side here and here. Like he really got after it with some people, and I'm just excited that we're returning to the oval. But this will go in the case. I will tell you this: if Thomas ever come to me, and he's a way bigger Casey Kane fan. I love Casey Kane, but he's probably the biggest Casey Kane fan I know. If there ever comes a point, Thomas, where you come to me and you cannot find one of these, and you're like, "Man, I gotta have it," I would sell this to you for what I paid for it. But for now, it'll sit in the Hendrick case, and it's definitely in the N&B pod's hands at this point. One of only 817, but that was just kind of funny, man. And I learned a valuable lesson with that car. I always look at that car and realize I could have possibly paid $200 or $300 for it if somebody was crazy and wanted to have a bidding war with me. But anyway, yeah, that was my diecast review. Does anybody have anything for the outro?
No, I mean, other than we'll be at Martinsville this weekend, but nothing really.
Yeah, listeners, I'm planning on trying to. Hopefully, the weather's looking really good, but we know better than to start looking at weather on a Monday night for a Sunday race. But I'd like to get out there as early as possible and try to, put some stuff out on social media and meet some folks who are happen to be around. If y'all are going to that race, hopefully we got some Hendrick fans that are listening that are as fanatical and nostalgic as us and wanting to be there for this 40th anniversary celebration, man. I'm looking forward to it.
For sure. Definitely looking forward to it. And I'm sure Hendrick will be out there in full force. I know a bunch of people from the Hendrick group the Hendrick camp up there in Concord will be out there. So be a lot of fun, and hopefully seeing Hendrick get that win, and really hoping to see Chase get that win.
Oh, one last thing I wanted to say, and I'll kick it to Thomas if you have anything. Thomas, would you buy a Noah Gragson race win from Martinsville? Would that be one?
I mean, I would have to. That's his first win, and I am a Noah fan, so that would be you'd have to. I mean, it's
yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I do an elite. I think I might have to stick with an ARC, but
shocker.
I don't know.
Shocker.
I don't know if an elite might be a better return on investment in the future. I don't know. I mean, look at them. Look at Blaney wins. Look at Elliott first wins. I mean, there's plenty of examples of crazy prices for absolutely no reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you have anything, Thomas, for an outro? Are you good, man? You just looking forward to?
I'm just looking forward to Martinsville, man. I'm excited.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, Kaleb, take us home, bud.
Yep. We appreciate the followers, listeners, new followers, and if you would keep listening to us on Spotify and YouTube, and give us a follow on Spotify, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. And we will see you next Monday, for episode 15 of NASCAR Nuts and Bolts Podcast.